Thank you for staying with us. A school, which is supposed to be an indispensable pillar in nurturing a conducive learning environment for students, has now become one that many run away from. From the abduction cases in Kaduna, Zamfara, and others, students are now uneasy to return back to schools. Although there have been various security interventions, the cases have continued to rise. How can we ensure safety for both students and teachers in school? That's the big question. Joining us via Zoom is a private security and defense consultant and retired former deputy head of security, African Union Commission, Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu, retired. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers.
Right. Now, let's take it back for a bit, 2014, where we launched the Safe Schools initiative. That was after the kidnap of the Chibok girls. 10 years down the line, we are still talking about the matter of safe schools and how much more we need to do to improve on the safety of schools, pupils, and teachers. What exactly was wrong with the framework at the time, such that perhaps it didn't seem to give us the result we wanted?
Thank you very much. First, I would like to say there's nothing wrong with the framework. But like most things in our national life, there is a lot that is wrong with the implementation. The latest school grab we have in this Kuriga, anybody who has seen the picture of that school will know that physically, concretely, on the ground, we do not have anything like safe schools in Nigeria. We saw one school in Kuriga. This is almost the picture of many of the public schools. I don't talk of private schools that some of us that are in the elite can send our children, but the local schools, what you see in Kuriga is what you want. This is a school in the middle of nowhere with no any security or safety measure in place. The smallest you could ask for is a school perimeter fence. It is not there. The smallest thing probably you could have throughout the interview, you didn't hear anybody saying that he interviewed the security officer of that school. Even if it is the Babame guard, that school does not have. We were told that in that area, even telephone connectivity is absent. Okay, maybe that's not something that school can do. But where you have a school in such an area, where there's bandit operation, there must be a means of communication, even if it is getting a VHF or UHF radio for at least one staff of the school that can contact security agencies. So to your question, I would say there's nothing wrong with the Safe School initiative, which was done specifically for the Northeast after the Chibok, and it was started even by foreign entities who felt aggrieved about how children are being snapped. So School Safe Initiative had a limited geographic concentration, which was the Northeast. And that program, led by the then former Prime Minister of Britain, Gordon Brown, with other international actors, and the federal government giving some counterpart funding, that program stopped in about 2024, because it was a limited program. But after that, we have moved now to the Safe School Declaration, which Nigeria signed in 2019, which Nigeria promised to implement, that will improve safety and security to our schools, especially if we cannot do the whole schools in Nigeria. We look at the areas that are most challenged, and then we put something. But I regret to note, like you said, 10 years down the line, the truth is that we have been paying lip service to Safe School Declaration or school safety and security. Well, I am happy, as normally happens after this, I hear President Bola Ahmed Tinubu saying our schools must be secure, but they are not now. We are not doing anything apart from high-profile launches that we see either by the police, either by the civil defense. On the ground, we do not have anything like safety and security for school children, especially those that are in the public schools.
Well, in ensuring that our schools are secure, I'm not sure how far you've helped us to understand that this framework has not really been implemented. But then talk to us about what role you think technology can help to play in ensuring that, in enhancing school security, especially when it comes to the CCTV cameras, panic buttons, or biometric access control systems. Do you feel that there is need for this to be installed in all our schools across the nation?
when you're talking about safe school or secure schools, there are three or four kinds of solutions that you can, and that one that you mentioned is only one, that is technology. Now, I like giving practical and workable solutions. Even in our other national life, how much have we integrated CCTV? But of course, that is one. Global best practice has shown CCTV. It has even a deterrence value. Not that it will stop somebody shooting with a gun, but knowing that his picture will be taken, knowing that the record keeping, even if after he has taken the children, that serves as a deterrence value. Yes, CCTV. The four aspects I'm talking about when you are taking school circles, they are divided into physical security. When you talk of physical security, now you are taking of fences, perimeter fences. You are taking of a limited number of gates where everybody has to come. You are taking of the presence of security personnel, either organic to the school or police or military that periodically patrol. I emphasize periodically patrol because with due respect to what I had Governor Kaduna saying that he has told army to open a police or military post in Kuriga. Definitely the truth is that we do not have the resources to put police or military in all the schools. But periodic, especially in areas, periodic patrols can be done. Now, those are the issues that have to do with physical security. Then you have the procedural security measures. Procedural security measures include security risk assessment. Every school should conduct a security risk assessment because even the threats we are having, they are contextual. In one area, this is the threat you have. In another area, that is not the threat. So you do a security assessment where you will identify the threats that are at your school and identify the current vulnerabilities you have, including playing scenarios. What if this happened? What if this happened? Now you understand whether you are weak. Then you bring procedures like drills and training of both the students and the teachers on how they react in case of security. You also involve the host community in this training and awareness about how they can secure schools. And then you can also talk about visitor management. Visitor management is part of it. You have to monitor the visitors that you have in the school. You have to, it's simple things like using badges. Everybody should have a badge. What does badge do? Badge simply identifies, teachers can identify students, students can identify students. So any visitor that comes in without a badge, he sticks out like a sore thumb. That is part of the procedural security. Then you have the technology that you spoke about. Of course, things like CCTV, things like panic buttons. But again, I know this as high quality, but out of this, as I said, there are low-hanging fruits. There are things that do not, and when you talk of technology, it's not only CCTV. In this Kuriga, what we learned, like I said, the area does not have telephone this thing, and there's nobody, a simple one set of UHF or VHF radio given to the principal or the security man would have enabled him to call police or to call the military. That was not there. And then the final element of security for school is what is called crime prevention through environmental design. From what we see in Gusau in federal government and other colleges, it has even become a norm for us now that when we are building a school or university, instead of having the school premises all walled in one place, like having classes, laboratories, and students' accommodation within, what we do now is just to build the classes and the laboratories, and then it is ended. The students can stay anywhere, and that is part of the security lapses that we're having. So our design of schools, right from the onset, you have to start thinking of the security and safety of our measures. If we build all the school and then the students do not have a secure accommodation, it's not that even if they are inside one enclosed place, bandits cannot come, but it makes it easier to control. Not that students are coming, this one is in this house, this one in this house. That has become a standard with us. We have to this, and part of the crime prevention through environmental design, you have to ensure you have security lightings working. You have to ensure that if there are lawns and dark places, they are covered. So in essence, these are the four kinds of security: procedural, technological, technology, and then crime prevention through environmental design. It is a combination of all these four aspects that will make a school safe and secure. There is no one, and then every school should look at what is its own peculiarity. Whether it is a federal government school, there's what federal government can afford, there's what state government can afford. If it is a primary school, there is, and then there's improvisation. Out of all these things I said, you don't have to go to the high end. But the truth is that even the low end we do not have.
So I'm wondering what a school like that in Kuriga could have improvised at ensuring that they were secure as it is? Because when you look at the picture and what you mentioned, they were very vulnerable. And because I was going to ask you who should have taken charge of all of these things or taking care of all of these things you have mentioned, if we are looking at Kuriga, for instance. The military said that they did not get the information in time. That was why what happened then happened. Thanks, we're able to retrieve the students now. But in moving forward, what should the people themselves do to ensure that they are not as vulnerable as they are as it is?
Thank you very much. And I'm happy we should look at the lowest denominator. With due respect, Kuriga typifies, a typical school in the north or everywhere in Nigeria that is locally distant. Now, we know it is a school owned by Kaduna State government. So there's a role for Kaduna State government. There is a role for the school authorities. There is a role for the community. And in all these three aspects, we saw a fall. We saw a failing in carrying out their responsibility. When you talk of Kaduna State, if you have a secondary school and you are built it and you are paying teachers, I don't know what percentage of the cost you will add to have a perimeter fence. Kaduna State government cannot absorb its responsibility for not having a security fence. You talk about the military saying they didn't receive issue. A simple VHF or UHF, because they said there is no network there most of the time. VHF or UHF, how much does it cost? It's within the resources of the school or Kaduna State to provide that. Involvement of the community. Has the school authorities and the security ever had a meeting with the community? This is what you do when you see a school attack, because most people have been asking the question, trying to make mockery, how can they carry so students and people are going? Did you tell the community what they should do if they should see this thing? Did you empower them? Did you give, for example, the village chief a radio? How much is a radio for him to contact when he says everything? Of course, in the absence of that, people are carrying children and they are armed. What do you expect a common, farmer or a local community leader to do? Is he going to commit suicide? So I am just giving you the things at the low level which the school could have been able to do. And one final thing that came to this thing, when the governor came, I don't want to resurrect this debate, the head teacher told him that 287 students were taken. What does that tell you? Even a simple procedure of keeping register of when you go to buildings, though we have imbibed this in Nigeria, but most people don't know the use. When you go to a public building, you will see a signboard saying assembly point. What is the assembly point? Assembly point is if there is any crisis, after it has died down, somebody will blow a whistle, and then all the people that have not been affected by this, they will congregate there, class by class, floor by floor. If it is a high-story building, if there's somebody already, that is part of procedure, already told that, look, if there's procedure, you're in charge of class 1A. How many people are there? 25. How many do you have? 23. We have 2 missing. That is how it is done. What we saw now is we're having numbers missing by over 100. I don't know who is right or who is wrong, but what I am saying, it shouldn't take us, after the bandits have left, it shouldn't take 1 hour for us to know exactly how many people were there. We don't have that. And not only in Kuriga, I've seen that in, is it Jengebe or Katsina? For 5 days, federal government spokesman was giving a different number. Katsina State Commissioner of Education was giving a... So these are simple things. Out of all these things that I said, there is nothing that is, there's none of them. Okay, apart from defenses, there is none of them that will cost you ₦1 million. None. None of these solutions will cost you ₦1 million.
Interesting stuff. And I feel that looking at the way things have been happening, especially talking about what happened in the previous administration, even during this administration, and the kind of response that we got from the current security agencies who are able to, rescue some of this, rescue all of these students from the, hands of the bandits or kidnappers or terrorists or what have you. Do you feel that we are learning? Do you feel that we are moving away from the way it used to be in the past? Are there some things that you notice that have actually changed in our response and ways we prosecute our fight against insecurity in the country?
I would like to say we are improving or we are going forward, but unfortunately, I like to talk honestly, we are not. What is different from Kuriga that is different from what happened in Chibok or Dapchi or the federal government college in Yobe State, or even if you come back this year, what happened in this? Nothing. Out of the 4 elements of school security, we have deterrence. Deterrence will deter attacker from what he sees on the ground. The kind of security, do they check people before they enter? Are the gates manned? Is there no perimeter fence? That might deter. When you fail deterrence, the next thing is detection. What we call detection now is either somebody seen and he's empowered because of training he has been given, and listen, that, okay, I have a phone, let me call. I have numbers of the local policeman, of the local, if there's a nearby unit of civil defense or military, have I this? I mean, that is detection, or CCTV. When you miss that detection again, then delay. Procedures like locking gates, procedures like training the children that let them disperse and hide in places, that will delay the attack, and that will give this. If you miss the deterrence, the detection, the delay, then you go to the response. Unfortunately, we are only doing this fourth, which should be the last response. What is the response? Children have been taken, we are going to look for them. Whether it is a negotiated release, whether the bandits they had a change of heart and released this thing, that is almost what we are doing. We miss this deterrence, we miss this detection, we miss this delay. What we do is respond. And respond we do is not even, because again, with due respect to what it is, once a bandit or a kidnapper has gotten children in his control, the honest truth is that the issue of getting them, he has the upper hand. He has the upper hand. All these people that are saying army should storm, you don't storm. Are you going to kill all the children? If your child was there, if your wife is there, if your father is there, will you tell the military to storm? I heard people saying storm, but bring it down to the personal level. And even if we say storm, that is not a global best practice. We are not the only country that is bedeviled by kidnapping. But experts know that storming, that is a firefight, is the last option you have. Because at best, even if you have the most trained hostage rescue team, your chances of succeeding in storming a place and killing only the bandits without touching the students and bringing it out is at best 50%. I will give it 30%. Nobody wants to take that risk.
Now, one wonders what makes Kaduna State so vulnerable to these attacks. I recall sometime in the past administration led by Governor El-Rufai, he at some point shut down the schools to address matters of insecurity, yet we keep seeing these numbers of students being kidnapped from the state and moved to another state. There are concerns about the roles of the community leaders and even political leaders in these matters of addressing these issues head on.
Yes, I just told you that this is the 75th reported. I was on the line reported. It's possible, I don't know. There may be some others that are not reported. This is the 75th case of school attack and student kidnap since we had the P in 2012. Now, when you look at the 75 attacks, about 53 or 54 of them happened in the Northwest, because you are asking what Kaduna State. The truth is that Northwest is suffering from over 75% of these attacks. So the school is situated in a zone that is already facing security problem. Schools cannot be absorbed from the general security situation in that area. Whether you talk of Kaduna State, you talk of Zamfara, you talk of Katsina, to some extent you talk of Niger, even though it's not in the Northwest, but the concentration of the problem is in the Northwest. Since the region, the geopolitical zone is bedeviled by security issues, certainly any other activity, whether it is education, whether it is farming, it is also going to be affected by security. The bandits are not going to have, in fact, they have an attraction for the school because it is what the military normally call soft target. Especially after going, you don't see this. At best, you see 70 or 80-year-old pensioner called Baba Megad. Baba Megad is the only security distance that you have. It's an easy distance. It's walk and carry. If you see how that Kuriga is, and that is the picture of most schools, it's just to walk and carry. There is nothing that will stop you from walk and carry and carrying those students. Nothing at all. So it is Kaduna State, or I can say it is Northwest, because Northwest, like I said, is carrying 75% of these attacks that we have had. It is Northwest that is facing, because already the region is an area of bandit activity. Bandits have had they have had a test. It gives them a lot of money. It gives them a lot of leverage. So schools and school students, and they know the government is not doing enough to protect the schools. Yes, every criminal, there are two things that inform him: high return and low risk. High return and low risk. Maximum gain for minimum effort. School offers that, especially the kind of schools we have.
That's very sad. You know, it's still talk on top of that. We have 28 kidnapped in another fresh attack as Kaduna host freed pupils. And one thing is, we are largely concerned about our schools to be very safe. You know, looking at the safe school initiatives. But looks like some of these terrorists, they are very, very sophisticated, and they also learn. The more we are trying to counter them, the more they are also learning, you know, different ways of executing their crime. Do you feel that this safe school initiative will possibly work? Because the more they try, is it not possible for them to also study how we are trying to mitigate against their own attacks by working with internal collaborators in order to, you know, carry out their heinous act?
Well, I don't want to be drawn into conspiracy theories that the communities, but what the logic behind my own thinking is that these students in Kuriga, for example, almost all of them, they are from that community. So when you say parents, you know, are involved in the kidnap, honestly, I would like to take a step back and say it doesn't make sense, because I do not see.
No, I actually did not mention parents. I said internal collaborators. Maybe some people within the
internal collaborators have to be within the communities. Look, we just have to help these communities. We should not shift back the responsibility to the communities. The only thing we need to do, if you have called them and trained them, when you see something, this is what you do. When we're having drills, please come and join us. Please help to protect the school, because the school, especially in Nigeria, the siting of school is even a political problem. There is no community that doesn't want a school to be placed within itself. It is an advantage to them. Their children don't have to go far to go for education. Bring them in. But we should avoid this, and I'm always against this tendency of pushing back the problem to the victim that he is the cause. There is nothing like that. So, but what we need to do is that federal government have a role to play. State governments have a role to play. Local governments have a role to play. School management have a role. Even me and you, as members of Parent Teachers Association, we have a role to play. When you go for a meeting, you can ask, okay, see what happened in Kuriga. For example, if this happened, headmaster, what do you have in place? Ask him, task him. We all have a role to play. And of course, the community, involve the community. But the biggest role is for the government at the federal and state levels. Federal government, because federal government was the one that signed this safe school declaration, which has all the guidelines. I was part of a team that designed a training manual for security agencies, working with the security agencies themselves. There is a coalition called Global Coalition for the Protection of Education Against Attack. They have given a lot of assistance. The one started by Godunbura has given. There are global best practices on how to secure schools. But like most things, after Nigeria signed that document, in terms of implementation, we have not done anything. Right. What I expect the federal government to do, I expect the federal government to do, for example, even though federal government has few schools like federal universities and colleges, federal government should give a model safe and secure school. Pick the federal government colleges. Show by actual design, by actual putting measures that this is what I want this to replicate. If they do that, they have given example. They have not done that. Even the federal government colleges are not safe. Federal University of Buso was taken.
Okay, because we have limited time, I need to quickly ask this question as we wrap up our conversation. We already have over 10 million out-of-school children, and a lot of parents are being discouraged by this incessant kidnapping of children in schools. What are your concerns moving forward if we do not stem the tide of what is happening?
Very thought-provoking observation. Unfortunately, the Northwest and to some extent the Northeast, when you look at indices of school enrollment, girl child education, level of dropout, number of out-of-school children, already even without banditry, without kidnapping, they are the zones with the lowest. All their figures are lower than the rest part of the country. You already have a problem with that, because we still have, due to some harmful traditional practices, you know, there are still parents that are reluctant to send their children to school. Now you add school attack and kidnap. The numbers are going to be worse or less. And what does that portend? Without our children in school, we do not have a future. We have done our own. If the children behind us do not go to school, we have a future. So what I am saying is that the schools, you know, they are the places where we produce our leaders. We should. So especially these states that have low enrollment figures. Now, for example, it will be difficult. I would like somebody to conduct a research. How many after this Kuriga? When will the school resume? Because after deterrence, detection, response, you also took off recovery. When will the school reopen? How many will return to school? This is a very valid question, and I hope Kaduna State government will see that. Of course, they may see a numbers, but you don't just fold your hand. It's not something you cannot do. Talk with the community. Let them see physically what you are doing. Start erecting a fence tomorrow in Kuriga. That will give the parents, they have to see. People want to see and feel. Some of the measures I said is not theoretical. It's things that you will see with your eyes, that this school, okay, yes, even though you can never reduce risk to zero, in the security and safety management, there's never a time when, but you can see evidence. You can see evidence of concrete measures for safety and security in schools, and that is what we encourage. If not, and if the Northwest and the Northeast, they are having low numbers of security, development experts will tell you, it also affects the other regions of the country, because we're one country. So the problem is localized, but the effects are going to be nationwide. So it is in the interest for stakeholders from all over Nigeria, Northeast, which Northeast for some reason is the one that is having 0% of school attacks. There are a few in the Northwest, and there are a few in the South. But Northwest and Northeast, the thing started in the Northeast, but now Northwest has even overtaken Northeast by multiple times. So as long as this is not issue, we have a problem of producing our next leadership. We are going to have lower figures of enrollment. We are going to have people drop out. Some people will say, Kai, I have a daughter, she's 16. Instead of attack her, look at what these bandits are doing. They will take a girl and phone the father that we have married the girl. The girl has given birth. We are informing you it's a boy or a girl. How many parents can be that? That he will say, let me go and marry her off.
All right. We must thank you, Group Captain Sadeeq Shehu, retired private security and defense consultant, as well as a retired former deputy head of Security African Union Commission. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Right.